What if I told you that the feeling you get right before you make a big mistake, that little flutter in your stomach, the whisper that says, "Don't do it," isn't magic or luck or some vague spiritual energy? What if I told you it's actually a supercomputer in your skull? We've been taught to distrust our gut. We're told to sleep on it, to make a pros and cons list, to be logical. We treat intuition like it's this woo-woo concept for mystics and charlatans. But we are living in an age of unprecedented information warfare against our own minds. We are scrolling, consuming, reacting at lightning speed. And in that chaos, we've been convinced that our slow, deliberate, conscious thought is the only pilot we have. And that is a catastrophic error. Because your brain, the one you're currently scrolling on right now, the one that's maybe got 3 tabs open and a podcast playing in the background, that brain is capable of processing about 50 bits of information per second consciously. That sounds like a lot, right? It's not. Meanwhile, your unconscious brain, the part that runs your heartbeat, regulates your temperature, and yes, generates that gut feeling, is processing roughly 11 million bits of information per second. 11 million. So, who's really flying the plane here? Because it's not the guy in the captain's hat having a loud, conscious conversation with himself. It's the silent, invisible co-pilot, running trillions of calculations in the background. This is Human Baseline, and for the last few years, I've been absolutely obsessed with this question. Is intuition just your brain processing data faster? And if it is, how do we clean up the signal? How do we stop mistaking anxiety for intuition? How do we learn to listen to that supercomputer without all the noise? Get a piece of paper. Get a pen. I don't care if you're driving, don't drive and do this. But if you're sitting somewhere, I want you to engage. Because this isn't just a cool science video. This is about reclaiming the most powerful decision-making tool you will ever own. This is about learning to trust yourself again. Let's dive in. We have this story we tell ourselves. It's the story of the rational human. We like to think we are these logical beings who gather data, weigh options, and then make a calculated, intelligent decision. We are Mr. Spock from Star Trek. We are the conscious mind on the throne. This is a beautiful fiction, and it's a very recent one in human history. It's the product of the Enlightenment, of Descartes with his "I think, therefore I am." It put the conscious, thinking self at the center of the universe. But modern neuroscience is blowing that throne to smithereens. Think about driving a car. When you first learned to drive, it was agonizingly slow. You had to consciously think: mirror, signal, blind spot, clutch, gear, gas, mirror again. Your conscious 50 bits were completely maxed out. You couldn't even change the radio. But now, you drive on autopilot. You have entire conversations, plan your weekend, solve work problems, and suddenly you arrive home with zero memory of the last 10 minutes. Who was driving? Not your conscious mind. Your unconscious brain was processing the road, the speed of other cars, the pressure on the pedals, the angle of the wheel, millions of data points, and executing flawlessly, all while your conscious mind was off daydreaming about lunch. Driving is intuition. It's a learned pattern so deeply embedded that the brain can run it at lightning speed without bothering the conscious CEO. That is the foundation of what we call intuition. It's not magic, it's pattern recognition on steroids. So, when I say intuition, I don't mean a mystical fortune-telling ability. I mean the brain's ability to access its vast library of past experiences, learnings, and emotional memories, and use them to generate a rapid-fire response to a present situation. It's a judgment, a snap, a thin slice of analysis. This brings us to the work of a man named Malcolm Gladwell. Now, I know some people have their opinions on Gladwell, but his book Blink landed like a bomb in the pop science world for a reason. He gave a name to this phenomenon: thin slicing. Gladwell tells this incredible story about the statue. It's a marble statue of a young man, a Kouros, purchased by the J. Paul Getty Museum in California for what was then nearly $10 million. It was a stunning find, pristine condition. All the scientific tests came back. The geology of the marble matched ancient sources. The surface weathering was consistent with millennia of burial. The museum was thrilled. They spent years preparing for its unveiling. But then something weird happened. Art experts from all over the world came to see it. And within 2 seconds of laying eyes on it, several of them had the same gut reaction. It felt wrong. One expert, Federico Zeri, looked at it and immediately felt something was off about the fingernails. Another, Evelyn Harrison, looked at it and just felt a wave of what she called intuitive repulsion. A third, Thomas Hobbing, the former director of the Met, looked at it and his first word was fresh. It looked too new, too perfect. They couldn't explain why. They didn't have data, they didn't have a test, they just had a feeling. And they were all right. It turned out to be a sophisticated forgery, probably made in the early 20th century. The scientific tests were either fooled or misinterpreted. What happened in those experts' brains? They weren't consciously analyzing the statue, they were thin slicing. Their brains, packed with decades of visual data, of looking at genuine ancient art, of subconsciously registering the feel of a real artifact, compared this new input against that vast database in milliseconds. A genuine ancient statue, even a well-preserved one, carries a kind of visual noise from time. The surface has a specific way of interacting with light. The tool marks have a certain rhythm. The forger, no matter how skilled, will inevitably inject subtle unconscious cues from their own time period. The way they think a fingernail should look, the freshness of the line. The experts' brains picked up on this 11 million beat per second mismatch. Their conscious minds, the 50-beat processors, just got the final result, a feeling of unease. Danger, Will Robinson. This is the essence of intuition. It's your brain handing you a conclusion without showing you the homework. But where does that feeling come from? Is it just in your head? If you've ever had a gut feeling, you know it's not a thought. It's a physical sensation, a tightness in your chest, a knot in your stomach, a chill on your skin. This is where the work of neuroscientist Antonio Damasio becomes essential. Damasio wrote a landmark book called Descartes' Error. And the error he's talking about is precisely that separation of mind and body. The idea that the mind is a thinking thing and the body is just a fleshly machine it pilots. Damasio studied patients with damage to the part of the brain that connects the prefrontal cortex to the limbic system and body sensing regions. But they couldn't decide anything. Their lives fell apart. One of his most famous patients, known as Elliot, would spend hours deliberating the most mundane things, like which pen to use or what day to schedule his next appointment. He could give you a brilliant analysis of why option A was good and option B was good, but he had no way to choose between them. He lacked what Damasio called somatic markers. Somatic markers are feelings. They are the body's link to the decision-making process. Every time you experience something, good, bad, painful, joyful, your brain tags that experience with a physical state. You feel happiness and your body relaxes. You feel fear and your stomach clenches. You feel dishonesty and your skin prickles. These connections are stored. When you encounter a similar situation in the future, your brain, running those 11 million beats, subconsciously reactivates those old body states. It gives you a gut feeling before your conscious mind has even registered the similarity. So, when you're about to sign a contract with someone and you get a weird feeling in your stomach, it's not random anxiety. It's your brain saying, "Hey buddy, remember that time 10 years ago when you trusted a guy who smiled just like that and he screwed you over?" Your stomach clenched then, and it's clenching now. I don't have time to pull up the whole memory file, but trust me, this pattern is in the database. That's the somatic marker. It's your brain-body connection running a diagnostic. It's your body saying no before your mind has a chance to say yes. Elliot and patients like him, disconnected from their bodies, could analyze forever. But because they felt nothing, no option had any more value than another. They were trapped in a logical loop with no exit. Reason, Damasio proved, cannot work without emotion. It cannot work without the body. The brain is not a computer floating in a jar. It is an integral part of a living, feeling organism. Intuition is the voice of that organism. So, we have this incredible system. A supercomputer running predictive simulations, a body that acts as a receptor for ancient wisdom, a thin slicing mechanism that can spot a fake statue in a second. So why is our intuition so often wrong? So, we have this incredible system. A supercomputer running predictive simulations, a body that acts as a receptor for ancient wisdom, a thin slicing mechanism that can spot a fake statue in a second. So why is our intuition so often wrong? Why do we get gut feelings that lead us astray? Why do we confuse fear with danger and anxiety with insight? This is the critical piece. Because in the modern world, we have jammed the signal with so much noise that the supercomputer is overheating. Remember the 11 million bits? Your brain is processing all of it. Every flicker of the fluorescent light, the hum of the refrigerator, the unresolved argument you had with your partner this morning, the 15 browser tabs you have opened, the 3 notifications you just got, the fear of missing out, the fear of not being good enough, the financial stress that lives in the back of your mind like a low-level hum. This is the cognitive load of the 21st century, and it's a tsunami. For most of us, our unconscious brain isn't just running predictive simulations on the important stuff, the statue, the contract, the person's character. It's running damage control on a constant feed of low-grade stress, social anxiety, and information overload. In this state, it becomes almost impossible to distinguish the signal from the noise. Is that knot in your stomach a brilliant insight telling you not to take this new job? Or is it just the anxiety you feel every Sunday night because you're chronically overworked and underslept? Is that feeling of unease a deep truth about this new person you're dating? Or is it just the echo of a past relationship you haven't healed from, triggered by something as meaningless as their haircut? Our intuition becomes a garbled radio station. We are trying to tune into NPR, but all we get is static, heavy metal, and the emergency broadcast system. We are living in a state of constant low-grade fight or flight. Our amygdala, the brain's ancient smoke detector, is on high alert all the time. And here's the thing about smoke detectors. They're designed to be overly sensitive. They'd rather wake you up for burnt toast than miss a real fire. But if your smoke detector is going off 24/7 because you keep burning toast, because you're anxious, because your environment is chaos, you will eventually do one of two things. You will either ignore it and miss the real fire, or you will live in a state of perpetual panic, unable to function. That is the state of the modern intuitive mind. We've got so much burnt toast in our lives that we can't tell when the house is actually on fire. So how do we fix it? How do we clean up the signal? How do we turn down the noise so we can hear the supercomputer? This is where the spiritual, meets the scientific. This is where meditation comes in. Now, I know what you're thinking. Meditation. That's for monks and people who want to escape reality. But that's exactly backwards. Meditation is the ultimate tool for engaging with reality. It is the practice of cleaning the cache of your brain. Think of your brain as a computer. You've been running Chrome for about 5 years straight with 500 tabs open. Your fan is screaming, the battery is hot, the cursor is moving in slow motion. The computer is processing, but it's processing garbage. It's trying to run Civilization 6 in the background while also streaming 4K video and downloading a software update. Intuition in this state is impossible. The system is too clogged. Meditation is the act of closing all the tabs. It's shutting down the unnecessary background processes. It's giving the machine a chance to cool down, to reboot, to remember what it feels like to just be idle. When you sit still and focus on your breath, something radical happens. You stop reading the beast. You stop throwing new information into the 11 million bit processor. You stop reacting. For the first time, maybe all day, your brain doesn't have a new problem to solve. And when that happens, it starts to do what it's designed to do. It starts to organize. It starts to file away the experiences of the day. It starts to connect dots you didn't even know you were seeing. It processes. This is why people often have their best ideas in the shower or on a walk or right before they fall asleep. It's not the water or the walking. It's that they've finally stopped feeding the system new inputs. They've cleared the cache, and the background processes can finally run efficiently. Neurologically, meditation does a few key things. First, it calms the amygdala. Regular meditation practice has been shown to shrink the amygdala and reduce its reactivity. It lowers the baseline level of alarm. The smoke detector becomes less sensitive to burnt toast, so it can more accurately detect real fires. Second, it strengthens the prefrontal cortex. This is the thinking part of your brain, the CEO. A stronger PFC can better regulate the emotional impulses coming from the amygdala. It can pause and say, is that anxiety real or is it just noise? It gives you the space to interpret the somatic marker rather than just being swamped by it. Third, it quiets the default mode network. The DMN is the part of your brain that's active when you're not focused on the outside world. It's the me center. It's the part that ruminates on the past and worries about the future. Why did I say that? What if I fail tomorrow? This is the ultimate source of mental noise. Meditation, particularly focused attention practices, have been shown to quiet the DMN. It gets you out of the endless story of me and into the present moment. And it is only in the present moment that true intuition can be heard. Intuition doesn't live in the past or the future. It lives in the now. By meditating, you are effectively cleaning the pipes. You are allowing your brain to return to its factory settings. You are letting the supercomputer idle so that when you ask it a question, should I take this job? Is this person trustworthy? It can run that simulation on a clean, quiet system and give you a clear, unvarnished answer. The knot in your stomach after a meditation session? That's a signal worth listening to. The knot in your stomach while you're doom scrolling and stressed? That's just noise. Okay, so we have a powerful, cleaned up intuitive system, but we can't just blink on every decision. If you tried to thin slice your way through your taxes, you'd end up in jail. If you followed your gut on complex, novel problems with no data, you'd be guessing. So how do we know when to trust the blink and when to slow down? This is the art. This is the wisdom. And it comes down to understanding the nature of the domain. When to trust your gut? Blink. First, in domains of high experience. If you are an expert in something, a firefighter, an art historian, a chess master, a parent, a mechanic, Your gut is not a guess. It's a compressed summary of thousands of hours of learning. If you're a mechanic and a car comes in and you just feel like it's the fuel pump, listen to that. Your brain has diagnosed hundreds of cars with similar symptoms. It's thin slicing the sound of the engine, the smell of the exhaust, the feel of the vibration. Trust it. Then, use your conscious mind to confirm it. Second, in emotionally charged interpersonal situations. Humans are wired to read each other. If you walk into a room and the vibe is off, it is off. Your brain has subconsciously registered micro-expressions, body language, and tone of voice that you haven't consciously catalogued. That feeling of tension is real data. Don't override it with a positive affirmation. Acknowledge it. Something feels weird here. That's a perfectly valid place to start a conversation. Third, when you have to make a snap judgment. Sometimes you don't have time for a pros and cons list. In a crisis, your brain's rapid-fire pattern recognition is all you have. If you're walking down a dark street and a feeling of dread tells you to cross the road, cross the road. Don't stop to analyze why. That feeling is your brain processing a million subtle cues of danger that you can't see. Your ancestors survived because they listened to that voice. The ones who didn't are not your ancestors. When to slow down? Think. First, in novel situations with no data. If you're trying to decide which retirement plan to choose or which software platform to adopt for a new business, your gut has nothing to go on. It has no patterns for this. In this case, your gut feeling is likely just fear of the unknown or a bias towards what's familiar. You need to slow down, gather data, and use your conscious, analytical mind. Do the homework. Second, when your gut is just a craving. There's a difference between intuition and impulse. Intuition is a calm, clear knowing. An impulse is a frantic, needy feeling. I have a gut feeling I need to buy these shoes. No, you don't. That's a marketing campaign successfully hacking your dopamine system. That's not your supercomputer. That's your lizard brain chasing a shiny object. Third, when you are in a highly emotional state, if you're angry, terrified, or infatuated, your signal is completely jammed. You cannot trust your gut when you're in the throes of a powerful emotion because the emotion is the noise. It's like trying to get a clear reading on a radio during a thunderstorm. You need to let the storm pass. You need to de-stimulate. Sleep on it. Let the somatic markers from the raw emotion settle, and then see what's left. That residue, that quiet feeling the next morning, that's closer to the truth. The goal is not to abandon logic for intuition or vice versa. The goal is integration. It's using your clean, quiet intuition to generate brilliant hypotheses and then using your sharp, logical mind to test them. It's letting the supercomputer do its lightning-fast work and then letting the conscious CEO review the report. So, how do you actually do this? How do you cultivate this relationship with your own inner knowing? It's not something you can just decide to have, it's a practice, it's a way of living. And it requires the same thing that we talked about at the very beginning. The courage to de-stimulate and the courage to try. The first step is creating space for the signal to emerge. You cannot hear a whisper in a rock concert, and your life right now is a rock concert. The constant pings, the endless scroll, the background noise of the television, the podcasts in the car, the music at the gym. We are terrified of silence. We fill every waking moment with input. And in doing so, we have silenced the most important voice we have, our own. You need to build silence into your day. It doesn't have to be an hour of lotus position meditation. It can be 10 minutes in the morning with a cup of coffee with no phone. It can be a walk without headphones. It can be sitting in your car for 5 minutes after you get home, just breathing, before you walk into the house. In that silence, don't try to do anything. Don't try to solve problems. Don't try to listen for a voice. Just let your brain settle. Let the tabs close. Let the cache clear. This is the destimulation phase. It's the foundation. The second step is the curiosity we talked about. Once you have some quiet, you need to start paying attention to what arises. Not in a desperate, searching way, but in a playful, curious way. I wonder what I feel like making for dinner. I wonder which book I'm drawn to pick up. I wonder if I feel like going for a run or staying in. These are tiny intuitive decisions. They are low stakes, but they are practice. You are exercising the muscle of listening. You're learning to distinguish between the voice of should and the voice of genuine desire. The third step is having the courage to act on it. This is the hardest part, because the voice of intuition is often quiet and the voice of fear is loud. What if I pick the wrong book and waste my time? What if I go for a run and it's hard and I regret it? You have to take the leap. You have to trust that quiet voice. And here's the magical part. When you act on it, you generate new data. You go for that run, and maybe it is hard, but you feel the endorphins afterwards. You've just created a new somatic marker. Acting on a feeling of movement leads to a good feeling. You build trust with yourself. The next time you get a nudge, it would be a tiny bit louder, because you've proven you'll listen. This is how you build a powerful, reliable, intuitive system. It's a feedback loop. Quiet the noise. Notice the nudge. Act on it. Observe the result. Refine the database. This is the opposite of the life of numbing and distraction. The life of numbing is a life of ignoring the nudge. You feel the urge to write, to paint, to call a friend, to go outside, and you suppress it with a video, a smoke, a scroll. Each time you do that, you're not just numbing a feeling, you're telling your supercomputer, your simulations are irrelevant, I don't want to hear them. And eventually, the supercomputer stops running them. It gives up. You lose your intuition. You become disconnected from yourself. That is the true dystopia. Not the technology itself, but the self-imposed silence of our own inner voice. We are living through a war for your attention. That is not hyperbole. Every app, every algorithm, every notification is designed to hijack that 11 million bit processor and fill it with someone else's agenda. They want your cache full of their tabs. They want your amygdala on edge. They want you anxious and distracted, because a distracted person is a consuming person. A person disconnected from their intuition is easy to manipulate. But you have a weapon. It's the one you were born with. It's the quiet supercomputer between your ears and the feeling body it's connected to. By learning to clear the cache, by sitting in the silence, by having the courage to listen and act on that quiet voice, you are doing more than just improving your own life. You are pushing back. You are reclaiming your sovereignty. You are saying that your internal wisdom is more valuable than any external feed. This is the work of our time. It is the work of saving yourself from the onslaught of slob, from the flattening of your gifts. It is the work of becoming a fully realized human being. It's not about being perfect. It's about practice. It's about catching yourself when you're doom scrolling, taking a breath, and closing the tabs. It's about noticing that little nudge to pick up a book and actually doing it. It's about trusting that knot in your stomach when you're about to say yes to something that feels wrong. Your brain is a miracle. Your body is a wisdom keeper. Your intuition is the voice of that union. Start listening. Start now. Turn off your phone for an hour. Go for a walk. Sit in silence. See what comes up. See what you've been missing. See who you really are when you're not being told who to be. That is the conversation worth having. That is the war worth fighting. And it starts with a single blink. I'll see you out there.